So I guess the question is, what happens when a hero loses everything, right? That is the actual storyline of Born Again from the comics that we have now been brought to live action, bringing Daredevil back after 7 or 8 years away from the screens, the beloved Daredevil from Netflix, which if you're anything like me as a Marvel fan, that's all we've been asking for with these TV shows these last couple of years. We all know how much Marvel have kind of weaved their way through. Some have hit, some have missed, but the overall feeling of these TV shows is that they just do not hit how they should. And personally, I was a big fan of a couple of them. Moon Knight, I absolutely loved. You had ones like Secret Invasion, which I just don't think will ever see the light of day ever again, and no one will ever go and rewatch that stuff, right? And not to say that all big and good TV shows are rewatchable, but Daredevil, especially season 2 and 3, certainly fall into that category, right? It's one of those ones where, yes, you had to be there in 2015, 2016, 17, that kind of era, around when the Defenders were being built, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. Me and my dad actually loved those as well. But around that time, Daredevil was really pushing the buck on something that everyone wanted, right? Everyone wanted Daredevil to come back. But after the Ben Affleck movies in the early 2000s, I don't think we were ever going to actually get that with the new direction that Marvel were kind of moving in. You got to remember, the first Avengers film was already come out by then. Age of Ultron then comes out in 2014 or 15. I can't remember exactly. I've got a feeling it might be 2014, but it could have been 15. But you've got to remember that at the time, Daredevil wasn't seen as a character that could draw in that big 100 million, and neither was like people like characters like Deadpool and things like that. But we know how that ended, right? And Daredevil had a similar sort of success on a smaller TV show scale on Netflix. And I really do feel like Marvel knew that this character had to come back, right? Especially to revive their kind of TV era, if you like, that has kind of flopped over the last like 4 or 5 years. And I really feel like they're trying to move in a new direction now. So to kind of just get on with initial thoughts on Born Again, my biggest gripe with it is that they reshot most of this, right? And I guess that they had to salvage some of the investment that they put in, some of the storylines and things and calendars and all the stuff that they'd done. Sometimes you can't get everything to sync up again to reshoot an entire new season, right? And I guess, like I said, they'd spent a lot of money on it. And for me, you can really tell where the direction of the season kind of changed. Obviously, we all know the first episode was reverse engineered. That was kind of never meant to happen. And Foggy and Karen were just going to magically disappear. But we'll kind of go into that storyline in a bit. But I really do feel like that sets up the premise for Born Again. And that is the fact that Foggy and Karen are out of Matt's life. He's at a new law firm. He's trying to kind of put Daredevil behind him, if you like. He's kind of trying to move on. And that's kind of hinted at throughout with his therapist girlfriend, who kind of says, who says to you now, I'm not enjoying living this life. It feels fake. It doesn't feel like a real life. It's not fulfilling. I'm trying. And it runs concurrent with Fisk's storyline that eventually they are going to bring back the old versions of themselves and that the devil will come back out. It's just kind of, why is that going to happen, And I really did enjoy the Muse storyline. I feel like he was done dirty. As a character, as an actor, it was really interesting, but you can just tell the way that storyline was cut. They basically wrote him out of everything, and I get that he just served his purpose, similar maybe in a way to White Tiger, but going on for 7 episodes when there's only 9 in the season, it kind of felt like he should have had a bigger ending than the way that he did, right? But bringing Bullseye into it in the 8th episode, I mean, to reshoot this 8th and 9th episode was just a godsend. And I bet Kevin Feige was rubbing his hands together when he saw the first cuts of these, because wow, episode 8 has just changed everything I've thought about this season. I've really enjoyed it so far. Like I said, there's been some amazing moments. The scene where Daredevil find Muse is amazing. The bank heist scene was definitely fun. It lacked something, but it was definitely really fun. And there's been a couple of those at the court scene. The entire episode in the court was good. It was kind of a throwback to the old Daredevil, but something was missing. But this episode really brought all of that back, whether it was colour, editing, pace, the direction, everything felt like it was meant to be part of Daredevil season 3 or season 4, what this kind of actually is. So, I'm sure if you're like me and you're a true kind of Daredevil fan out there, this was just like peak, because it was for me. It was absolute peak cinema. I really, really loved the ending, the way the colours change onto Bullseye. When he turns into, when Dexter turns into, or Poindexter, I should say, turns in to Bullseye, or the colours going blue, the fact they did all of that with real practical effects on set, it's just wicked. Like, that is so good. That is what Marvel needs to bring back. I hope and think from the trailers and behind the scenes, we're going to get that with Thunderbolts, and this is what we need. We need Marvel to go back to being a little bit more rugged and make them feel like we're films and TV series and like we're actually in there. Because that was real drama at the end of that 8th episode. And spoilers alert, obviously, I'm assuming if you're watching this, it's because you like spoilers and you like talking about it. But Matt did take a bullet for Fisk whilst dancing with his wife, which obviously made Fisk rage as well. But I think there's so much more actually to that as well. Like, there's actually a lot more layers and depths to this. I mean, earlier in the episode when Poindexter and Matt are face to face in the prison, Poindexter indicates that basically that's what heroes do. They defend their worst enemy, right? And you might think just because he killed Foggy, he's his worst enemy, but Matt knows that he's a man for hire, you know, and who's really behind this and why and who? Because Fisk promised to leave them alone, but it was his wife. That's what he finally figures out, that actually it was Vanessa the whole time, whilst Fisk was away and she was running operations. She had Foggy killed, and the look on her face when Matt reveals this to her is absolutely brilliant, and that just adds more to the drama and tension that is, you know, forever building towards Bullseye taking that shot at Fisk. So look, we all know that the Matt isn't dead. We all know there's another episode, another season to come next year or the year after, you know, in Marvel. But it's the shot at the end, and this is where film nerds like me absolutely love it, because when the camera flips upside down and it's going red, obviously it's symbolising the blood that's coming out of him, but what it's also symbolising is the devil is back, right? The camera does a full turn upside down, like we're in hell, you know, like Matt's actually floating rather than going down. And sometimes these shows can feel like they have too many characters in it, like they were pointing in too many directions. But like I said earlier during this video, if you were a fan of the original Daredevil series, that was actually something that they got nailed on. You would get backstory after backstory, how this person knows that person, and this links to that, and Matt is linked to all of it. And that was what I loved about it. We had 20 episodes of full storylines, things happening constantly. And this is what Daredevil is and should be. And I do feel like they have tried to hit that off, right? Even with the previous episodes, having a character like White Tiger in there, having your Muse in there, having you know, the anti sort of Punisher squad. But I just do feel like, you know, White Tiger died, got shot in the head. We saw that logo. Have we even really seen much of the task force since? Have we really seen too much of that? But you can just then tell as soon as those other 2 episodes come, or, you know, we've got one of them, but we're just waiting for the other one now, the finale, that they just looked at all of that and were like, this is just not working, and they have to kind of reshuffle it. I know we're getting the Punisher in the last episode. There's been some set photos leaked. They'll try and throw them on screen now. But in all honesty, guys, I think as a Daredevil fan, let's just be excited. Let's just be happy that we've got these characters back, that we are getting another season. They've already greenlit it, which is brilliant news. Let's just hope that he, you know, continues on. I don't care if he's in an Avengers film. I don't care about any of those things. I just want to watch an episode every week and just see some absolute kick-ass, like, on boots on the ground, like local neighborhood superhero stuff. Like, that's what I love. And I'm sure most of you guys do too, if you've loved Daredevil just like me. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do a little follow-up video after this, talking about the finale, thoughts, feelings, all of that stuff. It's nothing too crazy or professional. Please go easy on me. Let's just have a chat. Let's just talk about things, right? This is the kitchen table. This is the vault. I appreciate it. Speak to you guys soon.